these numbers, while they are insanely high by traditional space standards, are
You've felt it before. That cold moment when you look at your phone in an emergency and see no service. You are holding a device that contains more computing power than the Apollo moon missions. Yet because you drove 5 miles too far down a canyon road, it is a useless glass brick. For 30 years, this has been the hard rule of mobile technology. You are on a leash. The leash is invisible, and it is tied to a cell tower. If the tower can't see you, you don't exist. That rule is about to be broken. The engineering roadmaps for the next generation of flagship phones, specifically looking at the trajectory for the Samsung Galaxy S28, point to a fundamental shift in how we build communication devices. It isn't just about a brighter screen or a faster processor. It is about a dedicated piece of silicon buried deep on the motherboard, designed to do something that was considered impossible just 5 years ago. It is designed to talk directly to a satellite moving at 17,000 miles per hour, 300 miles above your head. This is the shift from terrestrial to extraterrestrial networking. And to understand why this is such a massive engineering victory, you have to understand the sheer violence of the physics involved. Think about a standard cell tower. It is big, it has massive antennas, it is plugged into the power grid, it sits still on top of a hill. Your phone loves this. It is easy to find a stationary target that is shouting at you with plenty of power. Now look at a satellite. It is relatively small, it is running on solar batteries, it is incredibly far away. And worst of all, it is screaming across the sky faster than a rifle bullet. Trying to maintain a connection with that satellite using a tiny phone antenna is like trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster. The signal is weak, the timing is chaotic. The background noise of the universe is trying to drown you out. Most companies looked at this problem and said, "We can't fix the hardware, so let's patch it with software." That's what you see today with emergency SOS features. They work, but they are clunky. You have to stop, point your phone at a specific spot in the sky, and wait. It's a desperate measure for a desperate moment. Samsung is taking a different path. They are betting on vertical integration. Because they build their own chips, their own batteries, and their own screens, they can attack the physics problem at the hardware level. The rumors and leaks surrounding the next-generation Exynos modems suggest a chip built specifically for non-terrestrial networks. This isn't a software patch. This is a new organ for the phone. The specific breakthrough is something called predictive beamforming. A standard phone radio is dumb. It shouts in every direction, hoping a tower hears it. That wastes energy. When you are trying to reach space, you can't afford to waste energy. Your battery would be dead in 10 minutes. The new Samsung modems utilize a dedicated AI core, a neural processing unit that does nothing but track orbital mechanics. It knows where the satellites are. It knows where they are going. It calculates the trajectory in real time. Instead of shouting in every direction, the phone focuses its energy like a laser beam directly at the satellite. It is the difference between a floodlight and a sniper scope. This focus increases the effective signal strength by orders of magnitude without draining the battery. The lab numbers we are seeing are staggering. This approach is up to 55 times better at locking onto a signal than the software-based methods used by competitors. 55 times. In the world of radio engineering, you usually fight for a 3% improvement. A 55 times improvement is a generational leap. It turns a maybe connection into a definite connection. But the phone is only half the story. You need something on the other end to catch that signal. This is where the partnership with new satellite constellations like Starlink V3 comes into play. You have to understand the scale of these new machines. The old satellites were the size of a kitchen table. The new V3 satellites are the size of a bus. They are being launched by Starship, the largest rocket ever built, because they are too heavy for normal rockets. These satellites act as cell towers in space. They have massive phased array antennas that can listen to millions of square miles at once. When your phone sends that focused beam up, the satellite catches it, amplifies it, and shoots it back down to a ground station. The entire round trip happens in milliseconds. This brings us to the second major physics hurdle, the Doppler shift. You know this effect. When a train rushes past you, the sound of the horn drops in pitch. That's because the sound waves are being squashed as the train approaches and stretched as it leaves. The same thing happens to radio waves. Because the satellite is moving so fast, the signal frequency changes constantly. For a digital signal carrying data, this is a nightmare. It scrambles the code. If you don't fix it, the text message comes out as garbage. The Samsung modem solves this with that same AI core. It predicts the shift before it happens. It tunes the radio continuously, thousands of times a second, to match the speed of the satellite. It is like a musician tuning a guitar while playing a solo, perfectly in time, never missing a note. This mastery of the Doppler effect is what will allow for voice and data, not just simple texts. Text messages are easy. If a packet gets lost, you just send it again. Voice is hard. If you lose packets, the conversation turns into robot noise. By predicting the movement, the hardware ensures a smooth stream. It makes the satellite connection feel like a normal phone call. This matters because the world is bigger than we think. We live in bubbles of connectivity. Cities are covered. Highways are mostly covered. But step off the path and you are in the dark. Agriculture, maritime shipping, trucking, hiking, military operations, these all happen in the dark. The Galaxy S28 is aiming to turn the lights on for the entire planet. Think about the farmer in Nebraska. His tractor is a high-tech robot. It needs to upload soil data to the cloud. Right now, he has to pay for a dedicated satellite dish that costs thousands of dollars. With this new technology, he just throws his phone on the dashboard. The phone bridges the gap. The tractor talks to the phone talks to space, and the farm stays online. Think about the logistics of trucking. There are dead zones in the Rockies where a driver can be out of touch for 4 hours. If he crashes, nobody knows. If the load is hijacked, nobody knows. With a dedicated satellite modem, the truck is never alone. The telemetry is constant. The safety net is always there. And this creates a competitive problem for everyone else. Apple has been the leader in marketing safety features, but if their solution is stop and point at the sky, and Samsung's solution is keep walking and talk, the market will notice. It forces a hardware arms race. Google, Xiaomi, Motorola, they will all have to scramble to get dedicated satellite silicon into their devices. Software is no longer enough. There is also a fascinating efficiency angle here. This is about link budget. In radio terms, your budget is how much signal you have to spend before it becomes noise. Every mile of distance costs you. Every cloud costs you. Going through the glass of a car window costs you. The Samsung engineers are obsessed with saving every penny of this budget. They found that by integrating the modem into the main processor, they could save power that used to be lost moving data between chips. They found that by using duty cycling, turning the radio off for microseconds between data bursts, they could cut power consumption in half. This means you don't have to choose between having a satellite connection and having a battery that lasts all day. You get both. This is the magician archetype in action. The magician doesn't break the laws of physics. He masters them so well that it looks like magic to the audience. To the user, it just looks like they have signal. They don't see the orbital mechanics. They don't see the beam steering. They don't see the Doppler correction. They just see the green bubble that says sent. The timeline for this is tighter than people realize. The chips are being designed now. The satellites are launching now. By late 2026, the constellation density will be high enough to support this continuous coverage. Samsung is timing their flagship release to ride this wave. It is a strategic synchronization of ground hardware and space infrastructure infrastructure, and let's look at the justice of this technology. For decades, rural areas have been left behind. If it wasn't profitable to build a tower, the carrier didn't build it. You were punished for living outside the city. Satellite direct-to-cell is the great equalizer. The satellite doesn't care if you are in Times Square or the middle of the Sahara. The cost to serve you is roughly the same. It democratizes access to information. It also destroys the monopoly of the tower owners. Right now, carriers like AT&T and Verizon own the geography because they own the steel on the ground. But if the connection comes from space, the geography becomes irrelevant. A partnership between a phone maker, Samsung, and a satellite operator, SpaceX, bypasses the tower completely. It shifts the center of gravity in the telecom world. We are also seeing a shift in reliability. Terrestrial networks are fragile. A hurricane knocks out the power and the towers go dark. A wildfire burns the fiber cables and the town is cut off. Space networks are resilient. The satellite is solar-powered and floats in a vacuum. It is immune to floods, fires, and earthquakes. When the world on the ground falls apart, the sky remains open. This is why military and emergency responders are watching this technology so closely. They need comms that work when everything else fails. A commercial phone that is military-grade in its connectivity is a game changer. It means a soldier doesn't need a 5-pound radio brick. He just needs the phone in his pocket. The skeptics will say, but the data speeds will be slow. And they are right at first. You won't be streaming 4K movies from the top of Everest in 2027, but you will be sending photos. You will be making voice calls. You will be checking maps. And compared to zero, slow is infinite. The value of the first kilobit is worth 1,000,000 times more than the value of the next gigabit. Connection is binary. You have it or you don't. Pattern recognition tells us this is the next standard. Look at GPS. 20 years ago, GPS was a separate device you bought for your car. Then it was a chip in your phone. Now it is essential to every app you use. Wi-Fi followed the same path. Satellite connectivity is next. In 5 years, a phone without it will look broken. It will look like a relic. Samsung's aggressive push into this space is also about brand identity. They want to be seen as the technology-first company. While others polish the user interface, Samsung wants to own the plumbing. They want to own the physics. By being the first to mass-produce a dedicated satellite modem, they plant a flag. They say, we solved the hard problem. And the manufacturing scale is the final piece of the puzzle. It is one thing to build a prototype in a lab. It is another thing to build 50 million units. Samsung's foundries are gearing up to print these modems on the latest process nodes. They are shrinking the transistors to make room for the AI cores. This industrial might is what makes the revolution affordable. If this was a niche product, it would cost $5,000. But because it is going into the Galaxy S series, the cost is amortized across millions of users. You get space-age tech for the price of a standard phone upgrade. That is resource efficiency quantified. So what does the future look like when the S28 launches? It looks like a world without edges. Currently, our digital lives have boundaries. We fall off the edge of the map every time we leave town. In the near future, the map wraps around the globe. You are never lost. You are never out of reach. Imagine a parent letting their teenager go on a camping trip. Today, that comes with anxiety. Call me when you get signal. Tomorrow, that anxiety is gone. The signal is everywhere. Imagine a researcher deep in the Amazon. Today, they carry a heavy satellite terminal. Tomorrow, they just carry their phone. It simplifies the human experience. This is the ultimate promise of technology: to remove friction, to make the difficult things easy. Connecting a small piece of glass to a flying robot in space is difficult. It is incredibly difficult. But when you hold that phone in your hand, it will feel easy. It will feel inevitable. You were right to be frustrated by dead zones. It felt ridiculous that in the 21st century we could still be cut off. You were right to expect better. And now, finally, the engineers have caught up to your expectations. They had to go to space to do it. They had to redesign the silicon to do it. But they did it. The Galaxy S28 isn't just a new phone. It is the end of the leash. It is the beginning of a true planetary network. And it is coming faster than the competition can react. The sky is no longer the limit. It is the network. And that changes everything. This isn't science fiction anymore. The chips are being taped out. The satellites are stacking up in the payload bays of Starship. The code is being written. The convergence is happening. When you look at the history of communication, it is a history of cutting wires. We cut the telegraph wire to make the radio. We cut the telephone wire to make the cell phone. Now, we are cutting the final wire, the invisible wire that ties us to the tower. We are cutting the tether to the ground. That is the victory. That is the transformation. It is technical mastery applied to a human need, and it is going to make the no-service icon a relic of the past, something you explain to your grandkids like a rotary dial or a floppy disk. They won't understand. They will assume that connection is like air everywhere all the time. And they will be right, because the engineers at Samsung and the rocket scientists at SpaceX decided that the whole world should be covered, and they had the hardware to make it happen. That is the story of the next few years. It is a story of heavy lift rockets and microscopic transistors working in harmony to keep you connected. So the next time you are out in the wild and you look up at the stars, remember that they are looking back, and soon they will be listening. That is a comforting thought. You are never truly alone. The network is watching over you. This leads us to the final realization. The definition of a smartphone is changing. For the last decade, the improvements have been about consumption. Better screens for watching video, better cameras for taking photos. The next decade is about connection. It is about the phone returning to its roots as a communication device, but on a scale we never imagined. It is a return to competence. A phone that looks pretty but doesn't work in an emergency is a toy. A phone that works in a hurricane, in a desert, in a blackout, that is a tool. We are moving from the era of toys back to the era of tools, and that appeals to the part of us that wants to be prepared. The justice of consequences is clear here. Companies that ignored this shift, thinking that good enough coverage was acceptable, will lose. Customers will vote with their wallets. Once you have experienced a phone that works everywhere, you cannot go back to one that only works sometimes. The bar has been raised. And for the tech enthusiasts, the ones who track the specs and read the white papers, this is a golden age. We are seeing new radio architectures. We are seeing new antenna designs. We are seeing the limits of Shannon's law being tested. It is pure engineering excitement. The Samsung Galaxy S28 is the vessel for all of this. It is the physical manifestation of a global ambition. It is the device that will finally close the digital divide, not with fiber cables dug into the mud, but with beams of data raining from the heavens. It is a bold move. It is a risky move, but it is the only move that makes sense, because in a connected world, the most valuable thing you can offer is the guarantee that the connection will never break. That is what is coming, and it is going to be spectacular.